struggle with pride? Do you find yourselves doing nice things only so that other people will notice? Or find yourself thinking about other people and how you might be better than them? Or do you respond to correction with defensiveness or anger? If any of those things are true, you might struggle with pride. Today, we're going to be talking about a man who struggled a lot with pride and how the Lord reacted to his pride. But first, we're going to go back and kind of give the context of this story. So last week, we talked about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and the fiery furnace. But you might remember or might not that they are friends with Daniel. And you might remember who Daniel is. He is a prophet. He was in Babylon at the same time as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he was one of the king's advisors. But he was a Jewish captive in the land of Babylon. Well, at the very beginning, when Daniel is brought over, the king gives all of his advisors like really nice, rich food and wine, and Daniel says, "No, I can't eat that. That's not permissible for me to eat. Could you please just give me vegetables?" And in that way, he sets himself and his friends apart from the others that did what, like, just ate the food that the king gave them instead of the food that God had told them that they could eat. So then, the next chapter, Nebuchadnezzar, who is the king, has a dream, and he wants it to be explained to him what it means. So he goes to all of his wise men and says, "I had a dream. I want you to explain it to me." And they say, "Okay, king, tell me the dream." And he's like, No, I'm not going to tell you the dream. I want you to tell me the dream I had and then explain it to me. And then the wise men are like, "Nobody can do that." But do you know who could do that? Through the power of God? Daniel. He came and he told Nebuchadnezzar what his dream was and explained it to him. And Nebuchadnezzar in chapter 2, verse 47 says, "Truly your God," and he's talking to Daniel, "truly your God is the greatest of gods and the Lord over kings." Like, awesome. So he is turning to the Lord. Except the very next chapter, in chapter 3, Nebuchadnezzar makes a golden statue and wants everyone to bow down to it. And you know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because we talked about that last week. They refuse to bow down. They are thrown into a fiery furnace where the Lord protects them. And then the King Nebuchadnezzar in chapter 3, verses 28 and 29 say, "Praise to the Lord of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There is no God who can rescue like this." You think, okay, so he's turning to the Lord. He's getting closer to the Lord. But the next chapter, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And in this dream, there's like a big tree, and there's lots of fruit and leaves, and there's animals all around it, and dew and everything, and this big tree. And then a messenger from heaven, so maybe an angel, shouts that the tree needs to be cut down and all the branches like taken away from it, and then the stump remain where it is, and the dew and the fields and the grass with all the animals around it. And so and for 7 periods of time. And so Daniel comes, and the king asks him to interpret the dream for him. And he says, "I wish that this dream were talking about someone who was your enemy, because it means that you, king, are the tree, and you are going to be cut down, and you are going to be living out in the fields among the animals for 7 periods of time." And then he asked the king to please repent from his pride. Do you think that Nebuchadnezzar repented from his pride? No, he didn't. And we're about to see how the Lord reacts to that. So in Daniel chapter 4, verses 29 through 33, it says, 12 months later. So the king had a dream. A year later, as the king was walking on the roof of his royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is this the great Babylon I have built as a royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" And even as the words were on his lips, a voice came from heaven. This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. Immediately, what had been said about Nebuchadnezzar was fulfilled. He was driven away from people and ate grass like the ox. His body was drenched with the dew of heaven until his hair grew like the feathers of an eagle and his nails like the claws of a bird. So what was Nebuchadnezzar saying right before this happened? Look at what I built. Look how great I am. Look at Babylon, and I did this all by myself for my own glory. Several times he's had difficulties with pride. He is brought down, he praises the Lord, but then pride comes back up. He was sitting there thinking about how great he was, and then, boom. He hears a voice that says, what Daniel prophesied is going to happen. And then he is driven away from people, like he's no longer lives with people. He goes out into the field and he lives with cows and eats grass. And we don't know exactly how long it was. It says 7 periods of time, and we don't know if that was months or years or some period of time they use in Babylon that we don't use now. We know that it was long enough for his hair to grow and his nails to grow. So it was a little bit of time that he was spending out. And later we read that he regains his sanity, so it seems like he was insane at this time, and he lived out in the field. God takes pride and the sin of pride seriously. He didn't let Nebuchadnezzar say, I did all this by myself for my own glory. God did not let that stand. Nebuchadnezzar was driven from people to live in a field and eat grass like a cow. That's how seriously God takes pride. And you see that Nebuchadnezzar struggles with it over and over again, but you know what? We do too. How many of you guys have been thinking you're all good about something, and then something takes your pride away from you, and you think, oh, I shouldn't have been like that. I'm not that great. I didn't do this by myself. God did this for me, through me. And then again, you think, I did such a good thing. And then you realize again that God is the one that did it. And we do it over and over again. The sin of pride is a big deal, and God takes it seriously. How would you react? How do you think the people of Babylon react when their head of state, the person in charge of their country, goes insane and then goes out and lives in a field and eats grass and lives outside and won't come back in to people? Do you think it caught their attention? Do you think that maybe they're like, wait, what happened here? I hope that it did. I hope that it did. And I don't know, like, if you think about it, if our president did that, how would he come back from that? How would we then be like, okay, yeah, he can be our president again? That would be a challenging thing. Like, how did King Nebuchadnezzar come back from this? So let's keep reading in Daniel chapter 4, verses 34 through 37. At the end of that time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored. Then I praised the Most High. I honored and glorified him who lives forever. His dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the peoples of the earth are regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of the earth. No one can hold back his hand or say to him, what have you done? At the same time that my sanity was restored, my honor and splendor were returned to me for the glory of my kingdom. My advisors and nobles sought me out, and I was restored to my throne and became even greater than before. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and glorify the King of heaven, because everything he does is right, and all his ways are just, and those who walk in pride he is able to humble. So what did the king do the second his sanity was restored? He praises the Lord. He praises the Lord. And then he says, no one can ask the Lord, what are you doing? Or say what you're doing is not right, because the Lord has the right to do what he does. Does the Lord have the right to tell us what to do? Yes, he does. And so the king finally is humbled and says, God has the right. And he says that he will exalt and praise and glorify the King of heaven. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. Now, did King Nebuchadnezzar stay humble and continue to praise and glorify the Lord? I don't know. This is the last we hear about Nebuchadnezzar in the book of Daniel. But I think that we can learn a lot from him. How did he respond when he was corrected? Not very well the first few times, but then the last time it looks like he humbled himself before the Lord. When you are corrected by the Lord or by someone who is a messenger of the Lord, who is speaking the words of the Lord, how do you respond? Do you respond with humility and say, I need to repent and change what I'm doing? Have you ever been humbled by the Lord? Did you remain humble? Is pride something you need to repent of now? I think often most of us struggle a little bit with pride, or maybe a lot with pride. I want you guys to pray. I want you guys to ask the Lord if there's any pride in you that he wants to get rid of. And then I want you to pray and ask him to get rid of it. And then expect that it might be a little uncomfortable. But know the Lord will honor your prayer and answer your prayer if you truly seek to humble yourself and get rid of the pride that's in you. I hope you guys have a great week.